God literally hid a manual for somatic body work and neurological trauma release right inside the gospel. Adrenaline in your system, unresolved stress got stored in our body. Jesus told disciples we need to go with our mind, with our body, and with our spirit. Have you ever thought about forgiving someone, yet when their name comes to the topic, you suddenly feel the weird feeling in your neck, shoulders, stomach, maybe even some anxiety? Or have you ever thought about some upsetting situations from your past? As soon as there's even a little thought of that in a picture, all of a sudden you start to have the strangest feeling. You are almost feeling sick, having this anxiety, and it's all out of nowhere. As a medical doctor, I always question this topic. I was wondering why people got stuck in trauma loops, and especially Christians, when they pray and they do the right things. I thought about it for a while, and as you know, in psychology and psychiatry, and especially psychotherapy, there's a lot of things, we use a lot of techniques. But even if you look at people who went through therapy for years, not all of them can say that they had some good results. So today I'm going to share what recently Holy Spirit revealed to me as I was reading my Bible, and it will be mind-blowing, I promise, because for me personally, I was like, wow, when I got this revelation. God literally hid the secret to heal trauma. God literally hid a manual for somatic body work and neurological trauma release right inside the gospel. Isn't that mind-blowing? You will understand in a minute how I'm gonna dive deeper into this, showing you some practice too. If you ever read Matthew 10, you remember what Jesus said to the disciples when he was sending them out basically to the missions. Have a very specific meaning that I feel like is super connected to this topic of trauma release. And what is even more mind-blowing is that it's been thousands of years before we actually knew about some of these things, and right now we still don't know a lot about trauma release or other details. So here is what Jesus said to disciples in Matthew 10. If anyone will not welcome you or listen to your words, leave that home or town and shake the dust off your feet. Do you get it? I don't know if you can understand it yet. I will explain it, but oh my, literally, he told us what to do. I don't know, I'm just so excited about it because he literally gave the disciples and us this huge knowledge that can help us with all this. No matter if it's a childhood trauma, if it's like some deep child inner wounds, even though I wrote a book about how to heal that, and you can read it out, find the link in the description, and I'm sure it will help you a lot. But this is even easier way to do things. Let's dive in a little bit into clinical research and what the science says. What happens when you have all this chronic stress, when you for a long time, either you had it in a childhood that you had some abusive situation, or maybe in adulthood if that's been going on for a while, what it signals to your amygdala. It triggers massive flood of cortisol and adrenaline in your system. Your body enters flight or fight mode, basically survival. Through a lot of different clinical research, we know exactly now that it's not only in our mind, it's not only somewhere in our brain, but all this unresolved, unspoken words, unresolved stress, it got stored in our body. It got stored in our neck, in our shoulders. It's different for everybody, but the main place where it got stored is myofascial tissue, and it gets stored in our autonomic nervous system, muscles. If we only think about our mind and how to work with our mind, or if we only think about the body, those things are not gonna change the whole picture. We need to work through all of these things together. We need to go with our mind, with our body and with our spirit. These three things need to be all compound, like a compound interest. They need to be working together in order to release those old trauma loops. So you would ask me, what about the gospel? How is it connected? Well, very easily. In Matthew 10, Jesus told disciples to basically do a somatic body work. Not only work with our mind, even though we can see it in other Bible verses that we need to work with our mind, but here it specifically talks about that somatic exercise, and you can find a lot of them online. I'm gonna show you quickly the simplest thing you can do today, and it's so easy. It might be looking stupid, but who cares? What we need to do, we need to basically turn on that switch to switch our nervous system from being in that fight or flight mode to being in a normal, relaxed state. Because I mentioned this again in the previous videos, once your nervous system enters a survival mode, it's not that simple to get it out of that. You're not gonna be able to see the same opportunities in life. You might be missing a lot of things, a lot of open doors. Even if God opened for you the doors in front of your nose, you might not even see that. And there's a lot about reticular activating nervous system about that I also mentioned before. You can check in my previous videos. Let's involve our body today. Here's what we're gonna do today. It's super simple. You can do it anytime. I know for some of the, especially Christian women, we've been told to be silent, to keep it all inside, which later on can just destroy us. It goes out in a way of different sicknesses and disease. Simplest thing, just start shaking it off. Jesus told the disciples, just whatever bad situation happened to you, you don't need to store it in your body anymore. Start from shaking your arms, moving your body. It's also amazing to do lymphatic exercises to get that lymph flowing. It's so good for your health and a lot of other things, but you can basically just shake off your legs, shake off your body. And I know it can look super funny and super strange, but it doesn't matter. The most important thing is that it works and it helps us. And if your nervous system got chronically stuck in that fight or flight mode, this is gonna help you. Just do it. Just jump, do whatever you need to do as long as you need it to do to feel better, to just signal your nervous system that it's over. Now we can live a normal life, not in a survival mode anymore. Just already better, right?